I almost got scammed out of $3,000. Now, the proud man that I am would never want to admit this, and I like to think that I can sniff out a scam immediately, but I am not proud, and I hope that by sharing what happened, it can help you avoid this scam. So there I was, enjoying my son's baseball game with my wife and kids when I got a phone call from a local number, but I ignored it and just let it go to voicemail. Here's what it said.
Afternoon, Mr. Sardenberger, sir. This is Sheriff Deputy Russ Young, Process Section, Salt Lake County, sir. And we were reaching out to you here today concerning some legal matters. Now, it is my job to discuss this issue with you, so I'm going to ask you to give me a call back at your earliest convenience. Contact number is 385-999-9808. Again, that's 385-999-9808. This again is Sheriff Young. Thank you, and have a good one, sir.
Now, I'm a skeptical man at heart with any phone calls that come my way, so my scam radar was definitely buzzing, but I was somewhat distracted and I called the number back. I was talking with Sergeant Russ Young. He asked if he was speaking to me using my name. He then spelled my name to me, and he spelled it correctly. The reason this is surprising to me is that my first, middle, and last names are all spelled differently than the standard spelling for all of these names. Thanks, Mom and Dad. Going all the way back to elementary school and through high school, every trophy or certificate that I got either had my first name or my last name spelled wrong. So the fact that he could spell them both correctly was pretty impressive. Now, he read off my exact address. He gave me his badge number so that I could verify he was who he said he was. While he was giving his spiel, I just Googled his name on my phone, and Sergeant Russ Young had a LinkedIn profile with Sergeant Russ Young as a police officer in my area. He informed me that he had important legal information to discuss because I had broken the law by not showing up for jury duty that day. He asked, "Do you have a reason why you did not show up for jury duty today?" My response was, "I was never told to." He said, "Are you claiming that you never received your jury summons?" I told him that is correct. Next, he went into this, "That is good to hear, and he will document this for the record." I needed to repeat that I had not received my summons, and he would record it and attach it to my case file. However, simply claiming that I didn't get it was not a good enough excuse to not show up, and I now had 2 citations. The first, failure to appear, and the second was contempt of court. He read off citation numbers and had me write them down for reference. What made this wild was that a few months ago, I had in fact registered for jury duty, and this month was the month that I was supposed to be available. I had marked certain dates when I had vacations planned and was unavailable, but otherwise I was good to go, which makes me think that somehow they've hacked the jury summons court system records or something. But he mentioned that the Honorable Judge Robert Shelby was presiding and I was making a mockery of the court by not showing up. I Googled Judge Robert Shelby. He's an actual judge in my area. He mentioned that there is currently a gag order placed on this case, so I'm not at liberty to discuss any details of the case with anyone, not even to an attorney. If I do, I am violating the gag order. Not only that, but by engaging an attorney, I'm shifting my existing civil citations into a criminal case. Now look, I know a bit about my little world of expertise, but I am completely unfamiliar with jury duty law or general law. Now I've watched my fair share of The Good Wife and Suits. Boy, do I love Harvey Specter.
You gotta be kidding me.
But that's about the extent of my law knowledge. So many of you watching are probably thinking, Eric, this is clearly a scam, and you are just better than me. As he's reading off all of the things that I've done wrong, I'm texting my attorney friend about all of this, and he admits that this isn't his area of law, but it sounds like a scam. Sergeant Russ Young tells me that I don't need to pay anything to him over the phone, but I do need to present myself at the sheriff's office immediately and schedule a hearing to stand before the judge to let him know why I failed to appear today. He gave me the address to the sheriff's department. I told him I'm on my way. At which point he kind of got angry. He said that I wasn't supposed to start driving until I had confirmed with him that I was sober and not under the influence of any drugs or medications. I told him that we're all good there, at which point he asked me to tell him how far out my GPS said that I was from arriving. I said 30 minutes away. He stated that he needed to stay with me on the line because if I were to be pulled over, there's an active warrant out for my arrest and he would need to speak with that police officer. He also said that he needs to stay on the line to ensure that I am not fleeing as a criminal, which again, I should have understood this. Next, he outlined the procedures for me moving forward. He said that there were 2 fines, so the failure to appear and the contempt of court, each were for $1,500 for a total of $3,000. That would need to be paid as a bond. I asked if I needed to pay that over the phone because that would tip the scale over for me immediately that this was a scam. He quickly said no, he will not collect any sorts of payments from me. This is done at a kiosk at the county clerk's office. He said that I did need to post a bond payment and that I could get that money back once the judge hears what I did and why I didn't receive my jury summons. And then he asked if there was any reason over the last month that I would not have been able to receive my mail. Was my mailbox damaged? Does someone other than myself collect the mail? I told him that my family will at times, and he sounded relieved. He said that's probably what happened. However, because I failed to show and made a mockery of the court, he liked to keep repeating that line, this will show up on my criminal record. If I do not turn myself in now, they would send officers to my location to arrest me in public. By coming to the sheriff's office, should I fail to pay the bond, I would be able to speak to my family and my attorney, but I would be spending the night in jail. This is about a 40-minute conversation, by the way, so I'm going quickly through all of this. And I asked what would happen if I hung up on him and called my attorney. He said that they would immediately call back 3 times. If there was no response in those 3 calls, an active warrant for my arrest would be issued and I would be tracked down and arrested. I told him this sounds absurd for a jury duty thing and that this sounds like a scam. He asked my zip code and my birthday. I told him that he called me with my address and I am not giving him my birthday. If he is an officer, he knows my birthday and this feels like a scam. He started getting a little bit more aggressive, telling me that he's been a police officer for 27 years. He's doing this as a favor to me. He doesn't need to sit here and take this from me, telling me that he's a scammer. At this point, I'm getting annoyed as well, and I figure, what the heck? I've left my son's game already. I'm missing the ending to get this cleared up. The actual sheriff's department would prove what's up, and I told him not to sound like a scammer then. Next, he said that the address that he gave me for the sheriff's department was a processing center, not an actual billing center or a clerk's office where they could collect payments. It was after hours and the county clerk's office was closed. There was a separate government location with payment kiosks to make bond payments. He said that if I showed up to the sheriff's department without a receipt that I had paid the bond, I would be arrested on site. Now, at this point, I'm finally to where I'm 99.9% sure that this is a scam, and you may be thinking, Eric, duh, we knew this about an hour ago, and I'm telling you though, this guy was a really excellent actor. I asked him why he didn't give me this separate address first when he knew that I was en route, 15 minutes into my drive at this point. My great attorney friend was also on his way to meet me there to make sure that this was legit. He is a great friend, definitely in my top 6 best friends. This Sergeant Russ Young gave me a new address to go to now, and I sent it to my attorney friend. Now, another warning sign for me was that this guy was wanting me to put addresses into Google Maps while I'm driving, which seems unsafe. I told the guy on the phone this, and he said that there are official government payment kiosks located throughout the city, often around Walgreens, CVS, and other stores, and I asked him why he didn't pick one that was between me and the sheriff's office because he knew where I was. He said that he could get a different location if I wanted, and that they only accept cash or a debit card. I told him that I would be using a credit card. He said that I can't. Then I could be scamming them and stop the payment. I told him exactly. That protects me if you are a scammer. He didn't like that and went back to the whole 27 years of service as a public servant, and he didn't need to take this from me. He was doing me the courtesy of calling me. He told me that it had to be cash or debit cards, and the kiosk would convert it to Bitcoin and give me a receipt. And that was the final nail in the coffin for me. I said, got you. Thanks for confirming that you're a scam, and I hung up.
I've got you now.
Well, enjoy yourself.
I did not get the 3 follow-up phone calls like he promised, and I have not been arrested. I posted part of this experience on Facebook and had multiple people reach out to me stating that they or their friends had the exact same thing happen to them. Multiple acquaintances had actually paid out between $3,000 and $4,000, and immediately once that payment was made, the caller who was posing as a police officer hung up. Now, I don't consider myself a gullible person, but I guess I am. I fell for it enough to leave my son's game and drive halfway to the police department. This is one of many scams out there. I have since looked up what you can do to protect yourself from this scam and others. Courts will always send jury summons by US mail, not via phone or email. Courts will never ask for payment over the phone or require sensitive information like your social security number or bank account details. Scammers often create a false sense of urgency and pressure to pay immediately to avoid arrest, just like I experienced. If you do get a call or message that demands information or money, do not provide the information or payment that they ask for. Do not reply directly to the text or email. Click on any links or open any attachments. Scammers often make the messages look like they're coming from a real court or police agency. The messages are fake. If the website is not an official state judicial department website, do not click on it or use it. Official web pages usually have courts.yourstate.gov in the web address. Hang up the phone and do not engage with the caller. Reach out directly to the court or law enforcement agency to see if the call was real. Call your state courts or police department. Report the contact to the court. They can let other people know about the scam. I did this and the gal said, yes, we have been getting this a lot. As long as you didn't pay them anything, you should be good to go. If anyone is asking you to convert money into Bitcoin to pay them, this is a scam. I knew this tip, but it took about 40 minutes for him to get to this point. If you did give out personal information to the scammer, report the information immediately to your bank. Monitor your account statements and your credit reports carefully. If you see charges on your accounts or card that you did not make, report the theft to local law enforcement. Contact a credit bureau and ask them to place a fraud alert on your credit history. If you did pay them money, especially if it was converted into Bitcoin, unfortunately, you're not getting that back. But do those steps that I mentioned earlier of reporting this to your local police department and your bank. Monitor your account statements and your credit reports. So it sounds like I'm okay. I'll be keeping an eye out for any suspicious activity to my accounts, but it's still unsettling that these people know information about me and that I had recently had the jury duty notice. Again, it makes me feel like they've somehow accessed jury duty records and are targeting those who got the notices relatively recently, as my friends and acquaintances all said the same thing who had experienced this. They had recently submitted their jury duty availability. I'm nervous that they know my address. I'm nervous that they have my voice with what AI can do these days. Please be careful out there. Share this with your friends and family to ensure that they are aware of this scam and be careful of other scams out there. Many people are too embarrassed or ashamed to admit that they have been scammed or nearly scammed, and it only makes things worse. Look, I'm embarrassed that I let it go so long, but don't let embarrassment turn into making the situation worse. I appreciate you making it this far. You should click right here to watch this video next. I will see you over there.